In this video, we will learn how to show and format the system date, and the more difficult tasks of creating an if function and using absolute cell referencing. Let's use the same spreadsheet that we were using in the previous video. The only changes I have made is I've inserted a row between row 2 and 3. I've typed sheet updated and quota in cells A1 and A2, and have typed the value 1500 in cell B2. First, let's look at showing and formatting the system date. I am going to do this in cell B1. The system date can serve as a date stamp. This is placed in a worksheet to show when the spreadsheet was updated or prepared. Yes, you could just type that date in, but using a function that displays the date will automatically update every time the workbook is opened. To place a date stamp in this worksheet, we will use the Now function. Start by left-clicking on cell B1 to make it your active cell. Next, click the Insert Function button located in the formula bar. The Insert Function button dialog box should open. Select the category Date and Time. Scroll down until you find the Now option. Select it, then click OK. This function by default shows the date and the time. We really only need the date, so let's reformat this by using the Format menu in the number grouping on the home ribbon. Choose Short Date. Make sure that cell B1 was your active cell before doing this. Now let's look at creating an if function and using absolute cell referencing. In the Met Quota column, I want the word yes to appear if the item met the sales quota of 1500 listed in cell B2, and I want the word no to appear if it did not. That would take forever if I did this manually. There is a function that exists in Excel that can display numbers or messages based on a logical test. It is called the if function. The if function is mentioned on page EX164 in your book. It works by doing a logical test that is a true or false test. If this test comes out true, the function will do one thing. If it comes out false, the function will do another. We get to decide what the logical test is as well as the results for the function if the logic test comes out true or false. Start by making cell C6 your active cell. Next, use the Insert Function button to search for the if function in the Insert Function dialog box. Select the category Logical, then select If. Press OK. The Function Arguments dialog box will help us create the if function. Move the dialog box to the right so you can see columns B and C. Put your cursor in the logical text field here. Single left click on cell B6 in your worksheet and then type greater than equal B2. Place your cursor in the value of true field and type yes. Place your cursor in the value of false field and type no. Now press OK. As you can see, the function placed the word no in cell B6. Now let's try to use our fill handle to copy the formula down like you learned in Chapter 1. The formula did copy, however some of these are incorrect. Take cell C8 for example. It should say yes because it sold over 1500 units, but it says no. Let's take a closer look at the function to determine the problem. Just like the sum function adjusted in Chapter 1, the cell references in this if function also adjusted. This is what we wanted for the B6 cell reference to the total number sold column, but the reference to B2 has adjusted to B4, which is not what we want. We want this if function to be comparing the total number sold to the value in cell B2 every time. We can solve this problem by using absolute cell referencing. Absolute cell referencing allows you to determine what cell references you want to adjust and which ones you don't want to adjust when copying the function. Could you just retype the function? Sure, but think about how long that would take for all of these met quota columns. Instead of adjusting each function, we will go back to our original function by clicking on cell C6 and make the cell reference B2 an absolute reference, which is a cell reference that does not adjust when copied. Do this by placing your cursor in the function, as I have just done, anywhere next to the cell reference B2, and pressing the F4 button at the top of your keyboard. Notice this places dollar signs in front of the B and the 2. A dollar sign in front of a row number or column letter in a cell reference makes it an absolute reference and tells Excel not to adjust the reference when copied. You can also simply type the dollar sign in front of the row number and the column letter. Now we hit enter to save our function changes. By clicking back on cell C6 and using the fill handle, again, the function copies and we get the correct results. Copying the function also copied the borders, which is why it is suggested that you don't put your borders in until the end. I will simply fix this by removing all borders and reapplying an outside border. With this same area selected, I can copy and paste into columns E, G, I, K, M, O, and Q. By using absolute cell references in conjunction with our relative references, we quickly created a function in several large columns.